Good afternoon, everyone. This is Scott DeCamp. I'm with CatchMark SportsNet. This is Season 4, Episode 9 of the CatchMark Sports Podcast, brought to you by Van Dyke Mortgage and Durg Insurance Group. We're live from the podcast studio in our Whitehall office. I'm here joined by two of our other three co-hosts. We have Ken Byard and Tate Stine. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here. Good to see you.
How you guys been?
Been good, yeah. And just thoughts and prayers out to you and your family with the loss of your mom, and just want you to know that we're thinking about you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been the outpouring of support's been amazing. Obviously highly emotional when you lose a family member like that, especially someone as close to you as your mother. And then, but like I was having, enough tough of a time already, and then you see all the nice messages, and it just makes you break down again because of how people support you.
For sure, right?
Yeah, it just means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Yep.
But so. Coaching basketball over the weekend?
Yeah, I guess so. We were over in Lansing. It was for the Super 64 Classic. A lot of good teams down there got kind of beat pretty bad.
Humbled.
We got humbled one of the times, but a lot of growth from the beginning that we started with, so it was a good time.
I understand you did some umpiring, maybe?
Yeah, and things went well, and we got through the game, and North Muskegon won. Didn't need me to ump that game at all, especially in the first inning.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, right. And watched the North play Oak Ridge Friday night, a beautiful night at Marsh, and two good ball games. And then Saturday went to Montague and froze my butt off watching the regionals, and watched my son Talon and some of his crew qualify for the state meet and a few events, and the Uyghurs brother and sister combo there. So yeah,
both won the 400, I think.
Yeah, it was cool. It's just it's crazy to see how fast kids are. It's like, what in the world?
So were you watching the 100? Did you watch Isaiah Atchison run or not?
You talk about.
How was a kid that's 6'8" run like that?
It's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. And the 200. Right. The only other person I can compare it to is Ryan Van Bergen, because he actually ran the hurdles, the 300 hurdles.
Jeez, that's insane.
I mean, this 6'8" and winning the regional, and it wasn't even close. Like, what in the heck?
It's gazelle and he looks so effortless when he runs.
Effort and smooth. Like, if he doesn't play college football somewhere or basketball or whatever, I feel like he can run track.
So speaking of effortless and smooth, let's welcome our guest.
Oh, nice segue.
You like that? You like that?
Yeah, there you go. Applause.
That's worth the applause.
Or
that segue.
Or that.
For me, I think not for the segue there, the intro.
We have Cody Liverance, the man of many hats at North Muskegon, boys and girls tennis coach, a coach of the year in the state, by the way. So congrats for that.
Thank you.
I don't even know what to call you in the athletic department. You do everything and everything and anything. And I don't know if there's a role that you don't have in the school.
That's a good way to put it. Anything and everything. I like to give myself the unofficial assistant athletic director title, but
no business cards for that yet.
No business cards. No. So I just
does that fit on a business card or not?
Between all the titles, you have to use some pretty small font, I think, to get everything to fit on a business card. But I'm okay with it.
No, well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we'll get more into Cody here in a minute, but let's thank our sponsors: Grieve Law, West Michigan Joint Divorce Lawyers, Big Stone Therapies, Greener Realty with Chris Dykman and Sarah Reel, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems of Michigan and John Botten, Coldwell Banker with Dave Duesenberry, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and then our title sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage Lakeshore. You can find them at 460 West Western Avenue in Muskegon, or give them a call at 231-332-6500. And then, of course, Durg Insurance Group. You can reach them at 1535 Fire Road, Norton Shores, 231-744-9106. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Comment on our live stream here, our live YouTube at CatchMark Sportsnet YouTube, which obviously if you're watching and listening, you know where it's at because that's how you're seeing us. So, and then, anytime you can kind of spread the word around, share our stuff, like it, etc. That's great. So, but back to our guest of honor, Cody Liverance. What can you tell us about family, school, all those kind of background type things?
Yeah, so I'll give you the whole rundown. So I like to say that I'm a Youper at heart and by birth. I was actually born up in Marquette while my parents were at Northern Michigan University. lived there for the first few years, ended up moving down to Muskegon when my mom got a job opportunity, and lived here ever since. I have, my parents split up when I was going into 7th grade, but they're still both around, and my mom got remarried, and I have a younger sister. She is about 6.5 years younger than me. She's 23 right now. So we kind of just did the Muskegon thing. I'm a North Muskegon guy my whole career, K through 12, and yeah, love the area. Wouldn't want to be and live anywhere else. So it's just, this is home. This is home for me, and that's why I wanted to stay here.
Ken can vouch for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a transplant, but you've been there long enough.
I wouldn't go anywhere else, right? Yep. That's where we're settling in. And so just to speak to Cody, I had a chance to be his principal at Orchard View Middle School for a year, and I got a chance to meet him through that. And when I took the job at North Muskegon, that was like my first thing. Like, I have to get Cody. And so things just kind of lined up, and he came in and blew us away with this interview and told us that being at North Muskegon was his dream job, and we knew we hit a home run.
I mean, you can see it in the way everything he does, but the way he carries himself, how much pride he has in it. I mean, you can it just radiates. You can see it.
Well, I got to say, you're wrong in that story. I didn't work with you at OV.
I thought you were there.
You're the reason that I got the job at OV, because when you left,
that's right. That all shifted around.
It all shifted around. Right. They hired from within, and I got like a long-term teaching job. That was my first professional job. Was after you left OV. So you I owe you a big, thanks.
At least 10%.
At some
10%. Point being, you thought highly of them.
Shells. That's about what I get. So, like, if you want that, I'll give you whatever you want, man.
Point being, you thought highly of them.
Absolutely, and still do.
Right. So. How long have you known this gentleman over here very long? I mean, I know you met him at tennis last week.
Oh, yeah. Which was, like I said, that was a foreign thing to me. That was something that I didn't know. A couple
weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess.
It was something new to me, but I know he's been coaching a little bit. I've seen him around, but besides that, not too much. But
right. Yep.
And coaches freshman basketball, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was left out, but I guess I just kind of lumped that in. He does everything.
That passes the time in the winter. So, yeah.
So have you seen this guy play ball before or not?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I'm Chuck Ripstra's assistant coach on the varsity team. So I've seen, Tate play when he was in high school. Of course, we didn't get a chance to, talk with each other or anything. And if anything, it was the competitors in us probably saying, like, he wanted to beat us and we wanted to beat them. Yeah. So
I was going to say, did you have the scout? You had to.
Oh, yeah. Chuck's really good about that.
So what did you? What was the scouting report on this guy?
I can't remember everything. I think it was your senior year though. You were like the guy. You were the one on the. Yeah. They were like, okay, we got to know where Stine is. We got to be ready to lock him up. So he was, a good athlete. We knew about him for sure. And Chuck does a good job of that, getting the guys ready for what they're going to see.
Who defended you?
It was Ben Myers.
Oh,
pretty sure.
That's tough. That's tough.
I'm not gonna lie. Whatever the scouting report was first game, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah,
I think I finished with 4, maybe 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ben's a good defender, man. Despite his size, he will defend you. He will get in your craw.
Tell me Ben Myers talked all kinds of trash to you.
I don't think I heard him utter a syllable.
That
syllable.
Sounds like Ben. That sounds like Ben.
I dribbled right. I went in towards the middle, and he took a charge. He went down. Everyone's getting crazy, going hype, and all he did was get up, and he jogged right back on. Right back to offense.
That sounds like the Ben. I mean, you guys know him better than I do, but in the times I've interviewed and seen him, that's Ben.
Yep.
Yeah. I had him read a creed that we created through Meraki training for North Muskegon football, and I had him read it to the guys last night, and he's just like, "I'm gonna kill you, making me talk out loud."
He just has that smile always, right? Like he was. So during football season, they adopted the Careless Whisper song in the locker room, singing and swaying and all that stuff. Yep. And they're all dancing and hamming it up. He's at his locker stall, changing his cleats, doing it, just getting changed, just doing his thing, not even paying attention to all that other jazz going on.
He was probably getting dressed to go get some hits in.
He probably was. And then
it's
go
only
get some
10
shots
o'clock.
up after.
Two hours to hit and shoot.
I mean, that's all he does. He hits and hits.
Literally.
No kidding.
He's batting well over 500 still, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So you mentioned Meraki Performance. That's a friend of the show, too. We had Danny Hunt on the show here. And what was that like for you? What's that been like? Because it's been more than once for North Muskegon football program.
Yeah, he's doing 3 sessions with us. The first 2 sessions we're doing just the current sophomores and juniors, just to kind of establish, the mindset that he's trying to get us to grow into. And it's been really encouraging. We've had great turnout. The kids have been engaged. He asks very thought-provoking questions that you have to internalize. And we're really trying to establish a culture of, just that growth mindset and being your most authentic you. And Danny's just amazing at what he does. He's just a naturally talented, gifted facilitator. We had even our coaches last night are just like, doing some thinking about what are we about and who are we trying to be. And so it's not unlike what Cody does. He's a culture guy, and he puts kids in situations to really kind of make them think bigger than just tennis and bigger than just basketball, and what type of people do you want to be, and how do we use sports to get you there, right? And so it's not unlike what Cody does, but it's been great experience. If you get a chance, do work with him.
No, and that's you took it right where I was heading, with Cody, and how important that is to, not just the physical part of it, but the other parts of it, right. Just as a coach. And in the different sports, how does that kind of cross over from one sport to another?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important in tennis. I tell all my kids, boys and girls, like, tennis is 90% mental. You have to, you're out on an island out there by yourself, or you might have a doubles partner, but you got to figure it out on the fly and think yourself through it. The physical stuff, we've drilled it enough in practice and in matches before that what to do, but does your brain, connect all the wires at the same time when it's supposed to? And I just think I'm a huge proponent of the mental aspect and thinking, having positive thoughts and thinking about all the outcomes that could happen. But you also got to address the negatives too, because if you play with fear, then you're not going to, succeed, and you're going to play tight. So we had a good talk with our girls Friday night before our regional just about that, of accepting that this could be it, this could be the end, but if you play with the right mindset and like you've been trained to do and done your whole life, you're going to be just fine.
Well, and it's ironic because Danny kind of started with tennis right up in Ferris State, and how he helped develop that program to be successful. And you wouldn't think that culture and all that stuff affects tennis. It's just because it is so individual,
right?
But it really does.
It does, yeah. And it's high school tennis is a unique, thing because it is that individual aspect, but you play for the team as well. Each match that you win counts towards your team point total. So you have to root each other on, even though you may have lost your match. That's still important that your teammates do well so that you can get at least a team, honor or title instead of just the individual win or loss.
And just to get everybody caught up, and if they haven't seen it on CatchMark, we reported that about them. North Muskegon scored 19 points in the regional at North Point Christian, which that secured them a spot in the state finals. Grandpa's Catholic Central, I think, won the regional.
Yep.
Then you guys in North Point both scored 19 points,
Correct.
tied for second. So that advances you on. And that's, between the boys and the girls, you have a pretty good run, don't you, as far as getting teams in the state finals?
Between the girls, yeah. The boys, the boys we haven't been that successful.
Okay.
But the girls, this is...
Sorry, guys.
Hey, I'm working with them. I want it bad, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
The girls, though, this is, if you take the COVID year out of it, this is 6 seasons we've had a state tournament, and we've made it to the state finals every year that I've been coaching.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There you go.
So what were your impressions today to watch in high school tennis? You probably haven't been exposed to it much.
Like I said, it was a foreign thing to me because I'm not too familiar with the tennis game. I'm a big three guy.
Yep.
Basketball, baseball, football.
Pickleball? Oh, sorry.
And pickleball. Yeah.
That's about to be.
As long as Cody Cater isn't here to talk to me about it. Yeah. But I did notice, like you said, how mental that game can be because you're not placing your shots, whatever, your returns aren't great. I noticed how that kind of sways the whole match.
Yep.
And I noticed every single time there was a break in the game, after a set or whatever, he'd go over and talk to the girls and he'd have a piece of advice for them. And he could honestly switch. I could see a flip switch sometimes in the mindset that the girl would have during the match. And it's amazing how mental it really was.
Yeah. You don't have physical stuff to really tell them at this point. You got to just buckle down mentally to get, done what you need to get done.
What's the eeriest part for me is that you have to be quiet. Like,
oh my,
yeah. Are quiet. It's so weird. And you weren't up until this year. You weren't allowed to coach, right, or talk to them, or at certain points or something.
So you can only talk to them when they change sides of the court. Every 2 games, they switch ends of the court, and that's the only time you can talk to them. And you get 90 seconds to do it.
And it's like a discreet thing, like they're on either side of the fence.
Yeah.
He's on one side of the fence, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Like you're jumping out of the bushes. Like, oh, hey, come here. I'll get you for 60 seconds. I got 2 things for you, and then get back out there. So, yeah.
So no, but one thing that I'm sure is we'll get Ken engaged in this discussion is you look at high school tennis, and maybe it's this way in a lot of states, but Michigan especially, with the climate and everything. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you got kids who grow up with the best training, coaching exposure to it, or if it's a private school. And I'm not bagging on private schools,
Right.
but at the same time, maybe those are kids that come from those different backgrounds. Maybe that is more of a country club type sport background, that type of thing. How much of a challenge is it at a public school to produce a consistent winner, one that's up there competing with those other schools like that are private, and maybe have some of those kids that are geared more toward that sport?
Right. I think it's much harder. I know I'm biased because I coach and teach at a public school, and that's all I've really ever known. But you kind of mentioned in a country club sport, we're in Muskegon too, with Norton Pines closing and rebranding a sport house. They shut their tennis facility down. So now you can't go and hit indoors in the winter unless you drive to Grand Rapids or you drive to Holland or you go up to Big Rapids. So a lot of I have a couple girls who went and hit this off season and got some work in, but for the most part, my kids didn't, touch a racket from the end of, maybe some of them might've played throughout the summer, but they didn't touch a racket until when the season started. And I know not every kid at a private school is doing that, but if you live in in Grand Rapids where there are several clubs and you go to a private school where you have to pay, tuition to go there, you probably have the resources, both financially and in, close geographic range, to go hit and go work. And tennis is a sport where, just like all sports, the more repetitions you get, you're going to get better at it naturally. So we are kind of up against it, which is why I take a lot of pride in being so successful with our girls program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've joked about, in the past that he's been the public school state champion, and it is tongue in cheek, but at some level it is kind of true too, if you listen to the podcast, where I stand on public versus private. And there should be two different playoffs and whatever else, or the additional
The multiplier.
like every other state does. It does make a difference, and so
I would think, especially at a sport like tennis, and maybe golf, those types of sports. The country club, quote country club sports.
So when Cody says he's the public school champion, there's a lot of pride in that, and there's a lot of truth to it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wish it got a banner up in the gym, but
nothing's stopping you. Can't you talk to Jeff Cook about that? Or
good word in with
it's
him.
part of your title.
Yeah,
throw it in there somewhere.
I take his coffee every day, so I doubt he's going to put a banner up for me. So.
So, in terms of your sports background, what can you tell us about that?
So I kind of got the sport itch when I was young. So when my parents moved down here to Muskegon, my dad ended up getting a job at the Chronicle back in the late 90s when it was still newspaper being printed every day. So he worked in the sports department at the Chronicle with Cindy Fairfield was his sports editor, and all that crew, Ron Rott, Mike Matson, Troy Rule, all these guys, Tom Kendra, who worked in the department. I was there. I would go in, sometimes with my dad to work. I would go collect bowling scores with him every Wednesday. So he was the one who gave me that kind of sports itch. And I've just, that's all I can remember growing up in my house. It was either the news was on or Sports Center was on, and that was it. So I grew up playing everything you could in the neighborhood. All my friends riding bikes around, playing pickup baseball, basketball, playing a little bit of tennis, but not a ton, and just doing everything to stay busy. But I grew up playing football all the way through like Dynamites up until the end of middle school, played baseball all the way through minor league, and then up through varsity, and then played tennis just my last 2 years of high school, but ended up being pretty successful with that. And that's kind of where now it's kind of led into my career path. So yeah.
No, what's cool too is how supportive your dad still is. Like he was again at your regional, and he was texting me. He goes, "Yeah, it's, this is what they were doing and how things are going." And he was just—it's really cool how supportive he is.
Was he a writer for the Chronicle?
He was.
He was. So he was part of that whole crew.
Yeah, and that's where
you named some all-stars.
Oh yeah,
some legends.
Those are all those to me. Those were just my dad's coworkers, his friends. But it was cool going with him to sit on press row at basketball games and right there at the scorer's table when I'm a young kid, and going up and sitting in the press box at football games. And I remember the year that we had the 4 from the shore make it down to Ford Field, and going down with him to stay in the hotel the night before. And that was the first time I ever met Jim Moyes, and little things like that if you're around the area, that these are big names and a big deal. So it's those type of things that just kind of helped ingrain that love of sports into me.
No, that's a crew that I always kind of wanted to work with. That's what kind of inspired me to go in this career path in terms of doing those kinds of things, working with those kind of people. But unfortunately, things had kind of changed in the industry, and that wasn't when I got back up here after working in Kalamazoo and so forth. It wasn't that way anymore. It was like a one-man band in each spot. So unfortunately.
Which is incredible to think about how they did it with there's, 6, 7, 8 guys in the department, and the fact that you were doing it at M Live or Josh doing it there now alone, it's incredible. It's not even possible.
You can't do it.
Do it the
you
right
just can't
way.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back in those days, we'd answer phones and have a crew to do that
Yep.
on a given night, and have some people go out to games as well. But you got to know those coaches even over the phone because they were calling you with results and quotes and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you got to know them over the phone, kind of.
Right.
Yeah. Or maybe we made some of them up sometimes.
Off the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, that was great. It was a good thing. But so in terms of childhood dreams, what were your childhood dreams? I mean, you mentioned this being exposed to this.
Right.
Sounds like that was one of the dreams. But did you ever have the dream of, I'm going to be this or that or something else?
I don't know. I kind of, when I was growing up, I thought I might want something bigger, like I want to be a general manager or be an agent or something like that. But then, as I was talking about earlier, that love of home really kind of took over for me. And then it was probably about end of high school, early college when I started to realize, well, I can still do something sports related and be around home and not have to travel the country to go be part of some big organization or something like that. So I really enjoyed my high school experience and the friends I had and the teachers I had, and thought, well, if I could do that and maybe do some coaching, not that I was the world's best athlete. I had some success in the sports I played, but I wasn't anything special. That was kind of an avenue for me to see, you know what, I can still find that area to, get my interests out there, but also be successful and impact kids and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
Coaching.
What really, what are the things, you kind of touched on some things and why you do it, but any other inspirations or anything like that really got you into it, or any coaches that you had coming up through?
Yeah. Who are some guys that?
Maybe was there one?
Right.
It's not me.
I was going to say, I thought he was prompting that for a reason.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
Not at all.
Softball. So, being at North Muskegon, and I wasn't like a travel ball kid. I never went out and did any of that. I didn't really have the money to. So it was just the coaches at the school. Warren Kent was my baseball coach, and he had a couple, bunch of success at North Muskegon. Took a team down to Battle Creek one year, and then my tennis coach was Joe Gentle, who is a Hall of Famer, very well respected in the tennis community. So
Legend.
he is a legend. He's a legend, and people know him all over the state. So just kind of getting a chance to play for those two guys and seeing the way that they do it, because both of those guys are also teachers, or were. Joe's retired now, but they went in and did their job from 7 to 3, and then went out and coached as well. And they had a passion for their sport, and I saw that and was like, again, if I get to play and coach, and still, for me, I love high school sports because it's still that competitive aspect. I'm a huge competitor, probably to a fault, but you're able to still get that competition, even though my body or my skill level won't allow me to compete anymore at the ripe age of 30. I still get a little bit of that competitiveness. So you could have seen me on Saturday. We qualified for state, and I'm over there dapping up my girls, and let's go. I'm so pumped that we still get to do that. So I still have that kind of fire and drive. But those are probably the two who I had growing up that really made an impact on me in my career.
If you're ripe at the age of 30, I don't even want to think about what you would call me then. I'm rotten, I guess. I don't know.
Vintage.
Are there any values that you think specifically you take away from those two coaches that maybe you instill in your coaching style now?
I really liked with Warren that he was, you could have a relationship with him. I just vividly remember him having relationships with all of his players in different forms. And I've really taken that to heart, I think, as a coach, that all of your kids come to you in different areas with different backgrounds and stories, and just trying to meet them where they're at. And I think that's a big thing. If you can get the trust out of the kids, that they trust you and that you have their back and care about them as a person, you can get them to run through a wall for you. Yeah. And that's really, I think, where I've been able to get some success, is building that trust in those relationships. And then, they're interested in the sport because they're here. They choose to be here. So if you can get all that other stuff to fall in line, you have a pretty good chance of success, as long as kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So is basketball as much of a passion as tennis is for you in terms of coaching?
That's a good question. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like with my schedule and my time that I devote so much more time and effort and energy to tennis. But when I get in basketball season,
You're all in.
I'm all in.
Right.
I'm all in. I'm not able to commit as much to it, because when you're running a program, I have the girls from March until June. Right when school ends, I run a summer program in the town. That takes up, 4 to 6 weeks of my time. And then we jump into the boys season, which goes from beginning of August to beginning of October. So March to October, I'm the tennis guy.
Right.
And so after that, I can kind of transition into basketball, and I'm still doing tennis stuff on the side in the winter, but it really then becomes from November to March, it really becomes just basketball. And that's a whole different animal, basketball versus tennis, but it's a fun one. It's a good way to kind of change up the two, coaching styles.
So kind of looping back, you said you were with your dad watching the games, front row, blah, blah, blah. Well, who are some athletes that kind of stuck out to you as just being special, or teams that you saw that you were like, man, that's a special group of kids?
Right. So I remember like when Drew Namick played at North Muskegon. I remember back when we had the old wood bleachers and Tom Izzo came to watch and scout. I remember sneaking under the bleachers to get Izzo to sign a program for me. So I remember that. You mentioned before we got on, I think you were talking about Ryan Van Bergen. I remember him at Whitehall being super successful. And then guys who are around my age, like Cody Cater. We were talking earlier. He was a year ahead of me in school, and watching those Montague teams make good runs in football and basketball. I remember I played against Jamie Potts when he was playing at Oak Ridge. Good football. I mean, they won the state title in football, I think, when he was a freshman. I faced him in baseball as a stud pitcher. That's one of my claims to fame, is I faced the guy who got drafted. So I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah, put that on the resume.
Yeah. Why wasn't I a 60th round pick in the MLB? Right. Probably because I couldn't hit my body weight. But, so those are some of the guys. It wasn't as much certain teams or certain people as it was just the experience of being close to the action. And I thought that that's a great way for me. Like I'm not look at me, I'm not a great athlete. I wasn't going to be some stud, but you can be close to the action if you're a coach, and you can get down there and be involved in the game and impact the game, even though you can't play it.
Yeah.
You seem as enthused now as you did maybe when you started.
Yeah.
I mean, is it just that? That's what keeps you going? That's what keeps you motivated? All those things you just mentioned?
Yeah, it does, honestly. I mean, I just... every day it's something different, and you're going to get, that constant competition, that constant, drive to not, I hate it. I hate losing, because it means I have to admit that someone was better than me. Right. So that constant drive to not have that be a thing is, kind of fuels you and keeps you going.
Yeah. And what you're getting right now is what Cody is all the time. I mean, from like 7:45 in the morning when school used to start till, I'm sure when he goes to bed, that's what you get. And his cats love it. His students love it.
Only one cat.
Well, that's right. That's
only
right.
one.
Just the one.
Just the one.
But yeah, just that enthusiasm, that passion. I mean, they feel that, and that's why kids gravitate towards them.
Did you say you do drink coffee?
I do. Usually one cup a day. Jeff brews it in his office, and I get in there and have a good, like a small Yeti mug.
I was going to say, that's a pretty big coffee you're drinking, I think.
But I'm done with it by lunch. So I guess after lunch, what you see is all natural. So.
It's all natural, baby.
I want to ask you about something.
Yeah.
You talked about that drive, that hunger, not wanting to admit, that someone was better for you that day. If there's a kid that's struggling with that, or a group of kids that are struggling with that, is it possible to instill that in them?
It's possible, and I try to connect it through life scenarios. So instead of just saying that kid was better than you today, it's like it's a life lesson. This is how it's going to be the rest of your life. You're going to apply to a college probably and not get in. You're going to apply for a home one time and not get the house. You're going to try for a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they're not going to like you back. I mean, that's just the story of life. You're not going to win and get the yes all the time. So that's why I think like high school athletics are such a great thing, because it teaches you some of those lessons early on. And I mean, most of these kids have been playing through youth as well, so they know it too. They grow up losing, and if you don't, then clearly you're something special, and you might end up playing at the next level, or your team wins all those titles and things like that. But for most of us, it kind of humbles you a little bit early on, and you can connect it to other things in life, and they start to see that, you know what, you're right. I still am successful, but I'm not always going to get everything that I want.
Okay.
There's such a great, safe place to fail.
Yeah.
Yep.
How different is it coaching tennis and basketball, and then how different is it coaching boys and girls?
First part, basketball and tennis are vastly different. And it's, tennis, like I run the program, so I have to develop the practice plan. I have to talk with the parents. I got to have the tough conversations with kids about playing time, so on and so on. But then when you go coach in the actual event, like you were saying earlier, Ken, you're quiet. You only cheer when they hit a winner, and you talk every, 5 to 10 minutes maybe to the kids, and that's it. Where basketball, I do coach the freshman team, so I do have my own kids to be worried about and develop, but most of my effort and energy really goes into helping Chuck and helping out the varsity team. And that's where it's cool because you get to yell and you get to be intense. And I handle for him, I'm the guy who handles all the substitutions and when people go in. And so I don't have to deal with running a practice and dealing with parents and this and that. Chuck tells me, sub these guys in when I tell you to, and I do it. So it allows me to be a little more intense. So it's just like a perfect mix of the two styles for me that I value both of them. Boys and girls, it's boys that you get the more competitiveness. I would say they are outwardly more competitive, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing if it's channeled the right way. The girls are, I would say, to a whole, more responsible, more driven for their craft. Like when I've seen, I was kind of talking earlier about not wanting to lose. I see that more in girls where they're like, no, nobody will be better than me at anything, and I will not accept anything less. Whereas again, with the boys, at least my tennis team, we've never been great. So it's always kind of been like, yeah, whatever. If they beat me, they beat me. But the girls were like, no, tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I can do to get better. Like, I will not accept this. So I really value that from the girls because, again, that's kind of more my style. And I just haven't had a ton of that in the boys program. A kid here, a kid there, but not enough to kind of get that full team, result, if you will.
So what does, we talked a little bit about travel sports. What does tennis look like in terms of summer stuff? Are there AAU circuits? Do the really good kids, they go to Florida? What does that look like?
Yep. So the big thing around here, and that's actually why we cater our schedule the way we do, we wrap the season up by the first week of June because the USTA, United States Tennis Association, that's what the really high-level kids play all throughout the summer. There are regional tournaments, kind of like what we were talking with travel basketball earlier. Right. There's local tournaments, there's regional tournaments. The really good kids are traveling all over the country. That's actually kind of cool. The state finals for us in a couple of weeks are down at Kalamazoo College at Stowe Stadium, and they host the USTA national tournament every year. So these are kids from all over the country that by middle August they're coming down to Kalamazoo and they're playing from all over. And if you win that tournament, you get into the U.S. Open. So, I mean, it's a big deal if you're able to get to that point. So that's kind of what it looks like for us. And that's another thing. I don't have a ton of kids who go play USTA. I have kids who will play for 3 months during the season, but then a lot of my kids are multi-sport athletes, so they're getting ready for their fall sport or going to play travel volleyball because that's their main one or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I've covered that tournament down there, the USTA Super Nationals, they used to call it. The boys 18, 16.
Yep.
Thing is, I think I don't know if Roddick played in it or if he came back for the exhibition. I think he might have played in it before.
I think
back in the day, Andy Roddick and
there's been a lot of big names that have come
There's a lot of big
Jimmy,
names that have played
Connors has played there. I think Arthur Ashe did when it was coming, becoming a thing. So you go through like good U.S. tennis players. A lot of them made a stop there in Kalamazoo, which means it's pretty cool that the state finals are there for us, and we get to go see what the stadium looks like and know that some of the greats of the game have walked on that court. It's pretty cool.
Have you watched that tournament?
I actually haven't. I've seen the highlights, but you can tell when you go to a high school tennis match and you see the courts at the school, you're like, oh yeah, cool. You go to this though, I mean, it's like a stadium.
It is, yeah.
It's the bleachers are raised and there's rows and rows of seats, and you got to take a minute to just look around and soak it all in. Like, wow, this is a whole different animal.
So, you said this was the sixth time that you've taken a team to the state finals. What message, if there has been one, has changed since year one where you're awestruck and you're like, oh geez, we're here, compared to like, what do you say to your teams now?
You're right. There was some awestruck. I remember the first 1 year I had a doubles team play for the state championship, and I was like losing my mind. They were looking at me for a calming presence, and I'm like freaking out. And they end up losing the match. And I'm like, I probably didn't help things too much, right? So exactly, right. So then that was kind of when for me my learning became it's just another match. They're already going to feel the pressure because they know they're at state and they know they're deep in the tournament on the second day. They need to look at you and see that calming presence. And I had a couple of years ago, my number 4 doubles team, Marilyn Gaston and Greta Goskowitz, they ended up winning the state championship. And I vividly remember just being very, very calm, even though inside I'm freaking out because here I have a team that's about to win a state title, but you have to be very calm and just say, let's go back to basics and do everything that you've done your whole life and keep working on your mental and keep working on your physical, and we'll cross the finish line when it gets there. So that was kind of the biggest thing for me is I had to experience that once, because when I played, I left this out earlier. I was trying to be a little humble, but my senior year of high school, I played number 2 doubles, and my doubles partner and we lost the state championship match. So I kind of had some experience of playing in that level, but then never. Coaching's different because you can't go out there and play.
Right.
You want to so bad, but the kids are the ones out there doing it. So it's a whole different psyche of having to be that calm person, and they're freaking out. I know I was when I played. So they need to look at you and see, okay, this is going to be okay. What do we need to do to get the job done?
No, and it goes well above the sport itself. I mean, you mentioned Greta Gostowicz, and then you've got Tate Panucci.
Yep.
Cancer survivors, and how does that really put things in perspective for you as a coach and just as a person, just to be so close to those kids?
Yeah, I mean, I never really grew up with having, thankfully, between my family and my friends, like we never had anyone who had to go through anything like that. So to hear and see firsthand what these kids were going through, I mean, we're so small. It's so small that the sports aspect and all this, like they were fighting for life or death. And, thankfully they've both come out on top of their battles, and to see some of the things that they've achieved on top of that is really, really remarkable. So it does put things in perspective. And I remember talking that year that Greta ended up winning with my team about, this is going to be life or death for our season, before our regional tournament. I remember saying that, but like Greta had to go through a fight for her actual life to still be here. And if she can do that and still show up and play, like you have no excuse.
Right.
You need to lock in and buckle down and get it done, because, she's gone through an exponentially amount, times worse of things than you've ever had it when you're, so-and-so broke up with you, or whatever happened, anything that happened in your life. Like it's so small compared to the grand scheme of life.
So Tate might be coming back, huh? Is he?
Yeah,
I know he's working.
He's
right?
working. He's golfing. He says he's going to be back, so we're counting on him. We're thin up front as it is, so we can use any sort of beef we can get. But just to add to that, Ethan Bates, who's also a junior at North Muskegon, was diagnosed with cancer probably a year and a half ago. And his update is that he just took his last treatment of chemo.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
He's headed in the right direction.
Thanks for mentioning him. Awesome. And then also there's a young man, I think his name is Caden Boyer at Whitehall. I want to say he's a sophomore, maybe freshman or sophomore, and he's in the middle of a battle too, but good football player for them. And I'm sure I'm leaving other young people out, and I don't want to do that, but yeah, you just marvel at what they're doing.
Yeah. Right. And you say that too, like who cares what school they go to? Like,
right. It doesn't matter.
That puts that all aside, and you say you want them to do as well as they possibly can. Right.
Yep. Because this is what we're talking about here, sports, and that's fun. Mm-hmm. And I've made a career out of it, but it's still not the most important thing.
Right, for sure.
But it is a vehicle.
Oh,
for me, it's a vehicle to relationships and stuff. So.
Yep.
But winning the State's Coach of the Year award, you said you didn't want to brag too much. I want you to brag a little bit.
All right. Take my hat off. All right.
Fine.
Let me have it. All right.
So just to be thought of that way by peers, I mean, how much does that mean?
It's a big deal. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. I won it back in the fall of 2020 with the boys, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. And then when it happened with the girls, because that was like coming off of COVID, so I didn't have any of the experiences of going to the coaches' banquet and getting the big plaque and having a dinner and getting honored and all that. I just didn't have it, so I filmed a Zoom in my living room, and I was like, yeah, cool, I got the award, whatever. This time was a little bit different, especially for my boys' team, because we didn't make it to state. So my girls' team, we made it to state. This has been our third year in a row of finishing top 4, and it kind of felt like people around the state were actually starting to give me some credit. And not that I'm owed a ton of respect, but they were kind of starting to recognize that, wow, he keeps coming back year after year. Some people could say, well, some people built this program before him and he just took it over, which is probably true, but it's been long enough now where I'm starting to work with these kids at the lower levels, and they're coming through and playing. And it's not like a lifetime achievement award, but it was definitely almost like a checkpoint in my career that at this point, people are starting to realize that I put in a lot of time and a lot of work with these kids. And again, they're the ones on the court who have to play. I said it before. They don't give this award to coaches whose teams suck. Right? Like your team has to be good to get this award. So I owe a lot of the credit to all the players in my program, but I know how much time I put into it too. And a lot of nights that I'm home late, and summers that people say, oh, you're a teacher, you get summers off. Well, not really. I pull 20 hours a week working that summer program just to keep kids interested, so that maybe 10% of them end up playing high school tennis on top of, instead of playing football, soccer, all these other things that are being thrown their way when they're that age. So it was a nice thing to get honored by the people around you in your area and around the state who are thought of very, very highly in the tennis community.
One of the topics I wanted to bring up is just how special of a place North Muskegon is. And for many reasons, you guys know it, very, very well with Cody and Ken here. But it's amazing how they can sustain the athletic success and when you're splitting kids up. And I don't even know if the school allows dual sports, does it?
Yeah, you want that?
Topic. We're, as a parent involved with athletics at North Muskegon, it's been my position that coaches there should be a little bit more open-minded to dual sports. I look at kids like Hunter Hogan specifically and how he's given the opportunity to do both track and baseball and be a state qualifier in track and potential state champion. And right now that opportunity isn't afforded to our kids, but we'll have some conversations with the powers that be and see if we can convince some people that it's the best thing for our kids because they are our kids, right? And Cody's tennis players, they're the baseball players and so on and so forth, and they're the basketball players. And so we have to be able to find ways to maximize their potential and their opportunities by allowing those dual sport opportunities to happen.
Now, contrary to popular opinion or your opinion, that might be popular still.
Yeah, I don't know about
it's not my objective to tick you off. But what I was getting at was just I think it's pretty impressive how North Muskegon can crank out all these good sports teams in different sports each season, each like fall, winter, spring. I mean, you look at now even girls soccer, girls tennis, baseball, you got the kids golf, you got the track kids, it keeps going. And it seems like it's that way. That's kind of
and a lot of it, and Cody can speak to this. A lot of it is just the passion of coaches, right, and the high level educators that we have that are leading those groups and those teams. But it comes down sometimes to Jimmy's and Joe's and Mary's and Beth's, and we have a good group of kids coming through the school that are successful athletes and have dedicated themselves to getting better as athletes and better as a tennis player, a basketball player, whatever that is. And it's just a really good group. And we've kind of seen this coming, but it's here now. And so I think expectations for not only coaches and their teams have become higher. It is from the community too, because they understand what's out there and that sometimes you get a special group of kids to come through the building. And I think we're there with that.
No, I agree. And it helps when you have parents who are helping coach these kids in their youth, because as a varsity coach, I don't get to coach the 8-year-olds. Someone else needs to do that, right? So when you have a group of parents who are supportive and who help out with that, but again, touching on North Muskegon, it's cool where as an assistant in the basketball program, well, I help with our youth camp, grades 3 through 6. So I get to see these kids and who might be talented and get to learn their names and learn their style of play from an early age. And then running a tennis camp, I have kids as young as kindergarten who do the tennis camp. So if I can keep them interested and maybe say, and the kids thinking, I like that dude. He's goofy and weird, but a lot of energy. Like that's kind of like me. I want to do that. So you can build those connections from an early age. And I'm sure the same thing happens at Montague, but at North Muskegon, maybe to a slightly, bigger extent, just because it's a little smaller.
Right. No, and I left off accidentally. North Muskegon softball. Coach Witham had a really good program going, and Coach Hausman continued to that. And they've had some really good teams in that sport too.
Well, and I think one of the things that makes North Muskegon unique is that, and it may be different from a Montague or Whitehall, is that with the size of we have so many offerings. We still co-op with swimming, so that's an option for kids. Mm-hmm. We co-op
hockey,
with
right?
Hockey, and so that's an option. Lacrosse, we have that to offer, and so per capita in the area, we probably offer just as many varsity sport opportunities as anybody in the state of Michigan. Yeah. And so, now we're really pulling all the different kids, and that's why 85% of the kids in North Muskegon are involved in athletics, right?
Yeah.
And I know I've asked you this before, Tate, but I'm going to ask you again because it's fun to see you react to it.
Okay.
Does it ever get annoying when you're like on the opposing team and how are they good in everything? How is North Muskegon good at everything?
Yes, absolutely. It seems like there's not much breakdown from year to year. And then
you think each school's going to, there's one sport that they're going to suck in, but it seems like they're good in just about everything.
No, it doesn't matter what sport it is. It gets annoying.
Trust me, we were annoyed when Montague was good every year. God, I just can't beat them ever.
Right. Speaking of one of those kids that's coming through, Troy McManus, right? So you've had him with tennis, all-state tennis player, basketball player.
Yep.
So you've been around him. What is it about Troy that makes him so special? And I mean, he's going to go on and do great things.
Can I just quick interjection?
Yeah.
Don't ruin everything because I'm having him in tomorrow for a profile of the
you
week
are?
interview. But go ahead.
Okay. Well,
No. Go.
Troy's great at the end. There you go.
I was actually going to go take it to Troy anyway, but you beat me to it again. So we're thinking
we're on the same page.
Yeah,
That scares
finally.
me. He's going to go on and do great things at Rose Hillman, play basketball, potentially play baseball. He's going to be a great engineer and take his 1560
El
and
Toro.
do great things and do the El Toro that he is. What is it about him that makes him so special? And can you beat him in tennis? Use this. Here it comes, Troy.
All right. So what makes him special? Let's say the good things, right? He's just such a well-rounded kid. Like he's brilliant. He's of course gifted at athletics, but it's when you see him in the day-to-day interactions and how he interacts with people, like he's just a good human. He treats people well, and he gives people the respect that they deserve, and I credit to his family. I've coached his older brother, Brennan, as well. Like they're good people, very, very good people, very kind, very polite. So that's kind of where it came from. And you can just see it all the time. I've always said, if I could have a team of Troy in anything, I'd take us.
Absolutely.
Because he's an ultimate competitor, but has good sportsmanship and respectful. I mean, every positive adjective you could say, he really checks those boxes. Now, get into tennis.
Let's go.
So first of all, and you can use this. I'm going to look right in the camera. I told you this. He quit on me this year. He quit on me. He played for 3 years and he didn't play this year.
He didn't.
And
right.
even though he may have been the one singles player, maybe not. My boys won. Luke Hall is pretty good, but Troy may have gotten him there. So Troy and I played last year in practice because I was like the only one who could really hang with him, and we played one set and I beat him 6-0. Just
Troy, 6-0.
Come on, don't give me that, Troy. Come on. What are you saying about me?
Yeah.
Right? Like
no Toro.
no, lo siento, Troy. But then of course Troy's a lot like me, the competitor. He's like, we're running it back, let's go, and he beat me in a set 6-0. And so I say like, hey, well, I beat you, and he's saying you beat me, and we're like two alphas going at it now, saying,
wait,
I'm
you
better
didn't
than
do
you.
a third match?
We didn't do a third one. Or if we did, I forgot the result of it.
Tiebreaker? Here's a tiebreaker. You're both going to write an essay or take the SAT?
Let's play him in tennis.
I'll take it out. So if we want to do like an eating competition, I'll take him there. But if it goes,
Gino?
yeah, I got him. I'll
right,
smoke it.
all right.
But if it comes to writing, I'm
Bernios, maybe?
Anything, dude. If it's edible, I will. I promise you that. But maybe when it comes to writing, he'll take me there.
I bet he can put away the food too, though, because he's a
probably
wire. You know how those wiry kids are.
Yeah.
They just do nothing but eat.
Well, that's why some of us big dudes,
Good
we can
old-
put it away too. So I'll take my
Good old
odds there.
days.
But we talked about this before too. But 1560? Are you kidding me? On the SAT?
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I took it 4 times, and I don't know if you added my scores together. I would have got 1560.
Well, Tate interviewed him for the icebreaker.
That's right. Yeah.
What was that like?
You knocked it right. Hammer on the nail.
Yeah.
This kid, he is intelligent. He's a very smart guy. He talked about how he communicates with people. He's got it all figured out, I think. And when I interviewed him, I asked him, what question did you get wrong? He's like, well, it was actually 2 questions. And I knew he wanted to tell me what it was, but we had to move on. So like you said, I think he's got it all figured
I
out.
think I might ask him that tomorrow.
Yeah, you should.
That's a good one. You
should.
should.
That is going to grind him.
Yeah,
He probably remembers.
because he's
the
going to
exact
know right
question.
away
Of course you
too.
will. Oh yeah.
That'll work out well because then he takes the mound and we play Catholic Central tomorrow.
He's gonna be ticked.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like
Oh
it.
yeah.
Light a fire. Yeah, come on, baby. Stick it to him.
So, what was it like? Did you face him when he was pitching?
Oh yeah, several times.
What was that like?
So frustrating, man. I hated facing Troy because it's not like Troy's blowing it past you. I mean, I don't know if he's gained velocity since I played. I'm sure he has a little bit, but I think he'd come with a fastball, he put it right bottom right corner. I couldn't touch it, low and outside. Calls a strike. I'm like, all right, 0-1. 0-2 comes by, change up, same exact spot, just a little bit lower. And I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. I'm already down 0-2 and it's been 15 seconds. I think in my career, I was 1 for 6 against Troy, and it might have even been an error, so maybe it was 0 for 7. So he is a great pitcher. His placement, the way
and he's left-handed.
And he's
right? So you don't
lefty-handed.
see it every day.
So
Got
it's
some
coming in
movement, natural movement.
fastball, curveball, changeup. I could never tell. I can never tell. He hit it well too. So,
and he's just a dog.
He is just a dog.
And then Ben Myers back there, the All-State catcher legend already. He doesn't really call the game like Troy does it, right? Like Ben's just like, okay, you throw it, right? So it's pretty incredible the two of them together.
How much of a luxury watching North Muskegon baseball with I call it a 1 and a 1A between McManus and Delora. I mean, is that fair?
It's been a ton of fun, and we're doing a lot of this, without James, who fits into that rotation, adds some depth and can eat up some innings. And Logan Slimco's stepped up as a freshman, and we have a bunch of kids who, intentionally, as we brought them up through Little League and minors and all that stuff, we wanted them pitching. And so I think everybody on that roster can pitch. Right, they're not going to be a Delora or McManus, but you can get a couple innings out of all those kids because that was a point that we made. Bringing them up, everyone's pitching.
Makes such a huge difference having that depth like that.
A huge difference, but the Delora thing is a bigger deal to me than Troy. We knew we were getting with Troy when Delora shows up, and he's the pitcher that he is now, and he works his tail off. I mean, he's a baseball kid. He's in the weight room. He's doing all the things. He's just been phenomenal, and that kid just is. I mean, he's a dog. Like he doesn't want to lose, and he's just going to shove it down your throat. And he's smart about his pitches, and he's gained some control. And I love his composure because when he was younger, he wasn't so composed, but he's come a long way in his maturity, not only as a pitcher but as a person.
You mentioned the weight room. Let's give a shout out too to Peter Bennett. He's taken another job somewhere. He's left, but what job did he do with just helping to establish things? Not that things weren't established, but maybe helping drive that home even more, like in the weight room.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I didn't work with Pete as much because, again, in tennis, you're not getting people who are just throwing the weights around.
But the girls were up there, though.
The girls were up there, and he was always there willing to give us, any tips, anything that we ever needed. But, again, just having that constant presence in the weight room and knowing that we have a culture of kids who want to lift and who want to work out and get bigger, faster, stronger, like having that constant presence who knows what they're doing is a huge, huge bonus, for sure. So he checked a lot of boxes for us.
Yeah, and we're able to, from my understanding that strength and conditioning program's grown. When I was there, we had 1 or 2 hours of it. Now we're up to, I think, 4, maybe 5 hours of it during the school day. And like I've said in podcasts in the past, if you're going to compete, you have to allow kids to lift during the day, especially at schools our size. And it's funny, I talked to the head coach at Fremont, the football coach,
Jared Hudson,
and he's like, Ken, thanks for saying that in order to compete in the West Michigan Conference, you have to lift during the day, because they don't. And he's like, my hands are tied. Like, we're going to struggle until I can make my board and my people understand you have to provide this opportunity during the day. So.
Have you seen their prospect they have there at Fremont, Andrew Stegger?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah,
he's a good-looking kid.
Yeah,
good-looking kid. Yeah, so I'm walking down the halls the other day. He's a good-looking dude.
Getting some offers and such.
Yeah,
but,
that's awesome.
No, yeah, I saw him throwing discus over at the WMC Lakes meet. Let's just say he walked by and a shadow scared me. Yeah. So he's a big dude.
Speaking of track, I mean, you covered that a little bit, and we're going to send you to Division II, I believe, for the MHSA one. I think I'm going to try to make it to Berrien Springs this Friday. That's the Midco meet. I think Whitehall's got a shot.
Yeah.
They got a shot, the MHSA one. Just how dominant are they, Whitehall track? I mean, they won their regional by like 65 points.
Oh, my gosh. It's unbelievable how a team like that has no holes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, usually you got pretty solid sprinters or pretty solid distance. They have both. And then they have the field events on top of that.
Yeah.
David Conrad breaking the record. He's going to GVSU. And then you got guys throwing the discus super far, winning first. There was only 3 events that they didn't win at the Lakes meet.
Mm-hmm.
And even in those three events, they got second in all of them.
I mean, they really are poised to win it.
They should. I mean, they're right in it. There's always, Berrien Springs is always tough.
Yeah.
Frankenmuth's always tough. They got I wouldn't say a break. I mean, they are what they are, but Zeeland East, Zeeland West are Division I, so they were always really good in Division II, but they're up in Division I now. So then obviously Hart, the girls, defending state champs, the boys have a shot. They didn't win the region though.
Yeah, I was surprised.
They finished second. There's a kid named Hunter Jones who's an All-American runner at Benzine. He won.
Yep.
He won the 800, 1600, and 3200. He's just incredible.
Could you imagine, like, you wake up that morning and you're like, I have a meet today. I have to run, the 2 mile, the 1 mile, and the 800.
Yeah.
Casual 3.5 miles in our track
know.
meet.
And the Jaswinski girl, the sophomore Hart, she won all 3 of those at that regional as well.
I don't know if I'd ever.
And she anchored the winning 4x8.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's crazy.
Well, she's obviously an All-American as well.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But no, it's cool to follow this and everything. I mean, since we have the platform here, let's talk a little bit about this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, how much does this guy do for? Well, let me say first of all, I think I think everyone's aware, but he volunteers his time to be on the podcast.
Right.
He volunteers, and I think he has a lot of fun. I know we have a lot of fun. What can you say for what he still does for the school, even though not employed by the school, but
Yeah.
still everything he does for it, he might as well be employed by the school.
You said it right there. He might as well still be. Like, he's still around all the time. This is probably, honestly, this is about the longest stretch I've gone without seeing you.
Yeah.
In a long time. It seems like I've just been so busy with tennis, but I know he's up watching TJ with baseball and helping out with them. And, he's a presence in the weight room and big in the football, and he helps out at basketball, running the clock and doing stuff. Like, I think that's awesome from a school support standpoint, but it's also watching him, be dad and watching him be, with his son's friends. I think it's a really, really cool dynamic. And when you have someone who's passionate and knows what they're talking about, again, like we were talking earlier about coaches, like the kids see that and they buy into that, and you can get a lot out of them that way.
Wait, so I'm not getting paid for these podcasts?
Damn it! Did I say that out loud?
That just settled in.
I know the check. I meant the checks in the mail. Sorry, that's what I meant.
You're good, man.
Okay.
That was a Freudian slip. So now the West Michigan Conference expansion. What do you think of that, Cody?
Yeah, good segue there, right? That might be a wah-wah segue. So. That was good too. Nice. The soundboard over there, man.
Yeah.
I think we've seen good things from it so far. I think it's cool to get the local schools, or the schools in our area that are all around the same size playing each other. In fact, if it were my decision, I think we can still branch out. I still know there are, the Kent Cities of the world and the Grants and the Nuegos and White Cloud. There are other schools around here too that I think would be a good fit, and we can kind of make it like a smaller version of the OK and try to cut down on travel time, because we're playing those schools anyway in a lot of sports. So, I mean, why not just include them in a conference? But I think it's been good from what I've seen of it so far. Of course, and it's like every conference every year, you're going to get duds in some sports and you're going to get some strong teams in others. So it just, I think when you add more, in a sense, it's almost like putting more cooks in the kitchen was a good thing, because you're getting to see some high level talent showcased all under one umbrella of the WMC.
So we talked about Whitehall being. I'm sorry if I cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
I'm a volunteer, so go ahead.
There we go. Jeez, oh Pete. At least I can give you the platform, the floor.
I was going to say, to me, the no-brainer is Grant Nuego, right? And then Fruitport. Like,
Yeah.
I've had conversations
That'd be a
with
good
some
fit.
Fruitport folks that they're like, why didn't we apply? And I'm like, why didn't you apply? That's
Seriously.
to me, that's the perfect spot for them.
Oh, yeah.
You can play families that there's some natural rivalries, there's some border rivalries, you're in the county. Like, who cares if you're going to freaking Coopersville to play people that you don't know? Like, there's no rivalry there.
No.
But to me, Fruitport would be perfect in that league.
No, it makes a lot of sense, because you have Whitehall, Montague, Fremont, Ludington's further north, but still, I mean, Orchard View. I mean, a lot of the schools they've played all throughout time.
Right.
And in fact, so the Muskegon Area Sports Hall of Fame has this holiday basketball tournament. They're bringing in Whitehall and Fruitport just to get a couple new teams in there. They're playing each other, and they had a really good, like an overtime, double overtime tournament game. So that should be a lot of fun. But no, I was just where I was going to take it was talking about teams in the West Michigan Conference with state title, maybe hopes. Obviously, we talked about Whitehall boys track, Hart girls and boys track. What do you think about North Muskegon baseball? I mean, you never want to put too much pressure on these kids, but they seem to have the goods, or maybe the look of a team that could make one of those runs.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this nervously. Like, if we can get past Montague, because they're formidable and Johnson's legit, that we can make a decent little run. And I think the boys, their one and only goal is to go play for a state title. And we knew that it would be, within the span of the next few years. I didn't necessarily think it would be this year, especially without James, because that component is a big deal when you're in a rotation. But they're hell-bent on getting to Lansing, and anything's possible in baseball. You run into a hot pitcher on the wrong day and it's done. That makes me nervous about the Montague district. But outside of that, they're playing good baseball right now, and so anything's possible.
At the risk of sounding like a homer, which you probably already know I am, I would put Ravenna softball on that same kind of level as North Muskegon baseball.
Absolutely.
they're pretty loaded. They have those same expectations, and that's, I don't want to say state championship or bust, but yeah, if you're like you being a parent of a player on North Muskegon baseball team, and me just covering these teams, yeah, I mean, Ravenna could run into a hot pitcher or a team that just makes all the plays in a given game, and nothing's guaranteed. Right. But it would be fun to see one or both of those teams make a run.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, just in the area, Shores potentially. I mean, you ride that arm of the Huffman kid, and Fruitport's solid. With the Bosch kid and stuff like that, they might not have the depth pitching wise, but they can make runs too. We got some good baseball, good spring sports overall in the area.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been solid. So that'll just about wrap it up. Does anyone have any closing thoughts?
Nope. Just thanks for being here, Cody. And more importantly, just thanks for being North Muskegon. I know my kids really appreciate having you as a teacher and as a coach, and all the great things you do for that small little community.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun, and we'll do it again sometime. I know we said we can BS. So BS with the best of them.
After hours.
That's right. Yeah.
Hours at the Canary.
Yes.
Oh,
get those
man.
Sign us off on that.
Yeah, let's get that lined up as a sponsor right now.
Yeah, we should.
So, speaking of that, let's thank those sponsors one last time. Grieve Law, Big Stone Therapies, Greenridge Realty with Chris Dykman and Sarah Reel, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems of Michigan, Coldwell Banker of Dave Duesenberry, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, Van Dyke Mortgage Lakeshore, and Durga Insurance Group. That'll be it for Season 4, Episode 9 of the CatchMark Sports Podcast. Thanks again for joining us, Cody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Actually, we won't. That's Memorial Day. Maybe the following Monday we might see you for the last episode. We'll see how that goes. But thanks a lot, everyone.